Welcome, students. Today I'm going to teach you the second story of your third chapter from First Flight book. The title of that story is The Black Aeroplane. So let's start reading the chapter and I'm going to explain it to you. The moon was coming up in the east behind me, and stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. In this paragraph, the author was flying his old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England around midnight. The moon was rising behind him. The stars were shining in the sky. He was happy. Soon he would meet his family. It was 1:30 in the morning. I should call Paris control soon, I thought as I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane. I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. I switched on the radio and said, Paris control, Dakota DS088 here. Can you hear me? I am on my way to England. Over. Here he called Paris control and told it that he was on his way to England. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS088 over. The radio answered him immediately. It advised him to turn 12° west. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12° westward England. I'll be there in time for breakfast. I thought, a good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. The author checked the map and compass. He switched over to his second and last fuel tank. He turned the Dakota 12° westward England. He thought that he would reach England at breakfast time and would have a big English breakfast. Everything was going well. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds, storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I didn't have enough fuel to fly over them to the north or south. Paris was 150 kilometers behind him. Then he saw a stormy clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. He was a little afraid because he did not have enough fuel to go back. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. I'll take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. He wanted to get home. He wanted that breakfast. He took risk. He flew his old Dakota straight into the storm. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. It was dead. It would not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. Here in this paragraph, the author says it was dark outside the aeroplane. Everything grew black. The aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. The compass and the other instrument were suddenly dead. Paris control, can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. Then, in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turned toward me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. The author called Paris control, but in vain. He could not see where he was. He was lost in the storm because his compass and other instrument became dead. He was lost in storm. Then he saw another aeroplane near him in the black clouds. It had no lights, no on its wings, but he could see the pilot's face. He turned to him. He lifted one hand and waved. Follow me, he was saying. Follow me. He knows that I am lost. I thought he is trying to help me. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. He was saying to follow him. He was trying to help the author, and the author followed the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. Now, there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. I was starting to feel frightened again, but then he started to go down and I followed through the storm. They flew together half an hour in the clouds. Then the strange aeroplane started to go down, and the author followed him through the storm. Suddenly, I came out of the clouds and saw two long straight lines of lights in front of me. It was a runway and airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. Suddenly, the author came out of the clouds. He saw two long straight lines of light in front of him. It was a runway and airport. He safely landed. The author turned to look for his friend in the black aeroplane, but his friend had gone. There was no other aeroplane in the sky. The black aeroplane was not there. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I went and asked a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. I wanted to say thank you. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. The author walked away from the old Dakota near the control tower. He went and asked a woman in the control room where he was and who the other pilot was. He wanted to thank to him. She looked at him very strangely and then laughed. Another aeroplane? Up there in the storm? No other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So, who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in my tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? The woman in control center informed him no other aeroplane were flying tonight. Your aeroplane was the only one I could see on radar. Then the author puzzled and thought that who helped me in this storm when he lost all the hopes of survival. So, students, that's all for the day.